She said, just mail the letter, see what happens. We did one mailing. We did one mailing, and we didn't send out a whole lot of mail, but we did one mailing. And actually, about a year later, a gentleman called me, and he said, Steve, I got your letter, and I kept it, and I've forgotten all about it. And he said, I kept your letter, and I've got 2 lots in this subdivision. I'm interested in selling them. And I knew at the time they were going for around $100,000 a piece. And I said, okay, you have 2 of them, gotcha. Okay, well, what do you want to get for them? And he said, I'd like to get $32,500 for them. And I almost dropped the phone. Yeah. You know? And I said, okay. I said, let me take down all your information and I'll call you right back. So I called Irene, this woman that we had been working with. I called her back and I said, here's this guy, he's got these lots and he wants to sell them to me for $32,500 a piece. And she goes, you better buy them. And so I said, what? You know, I think I've got $3,000 in the checking account. I'm going to pay check. She said, stop. She said, let's get them under contract. But I said, great. Can you put together the paperwork? Because I don't have contracts or anything like that. Can we meet in your office? Because, you know, otherwise we're meeting in, you know, my parents' basement or something. And she said, yes, we can do that. She said, let's just get the guy into my office. So we wrote them. These were already in an existing subdivision, so no engineering or any type of surveying or anything needed to be done. But they did need to be perked. Can somebody tell me what a perk test is? Somebody. What's perk test?
So it tests to see what the soil absorption from the septic or what the well will produce. No, it's the water runoff. This absorption.
For the septic. So can anybody tell me how septic, how that's done? Has anybody ever seen a perk test done? It's really cool.
You dig a hole and throw water in it.
That's right. Bring a backhoe in, dig way down in the ground, find out where the water table is, and come up a little bit, auger a hole, and they take a little board. It's got nails in it that are spaced, you know, a few inches apart from each other, drop it all the way down there. It's a very scientific test, by the way. And then they pour water in there, and then then they time the rate that it absorbs down into the soil. And if it absorbs quick enough, then it's deemed good enough to put septic system into the ground. Percolate. Thank God I coffee or something like that, right? So they passed. What we did is we wrote the contract contingent on them passing. So if they did not pass, it was not obligated to buy the property. The other guy that I was working with had the money to put up to give the contractor to, it was like $1,300 to perk 2 lots. So he put up the money, so it's great. I didn't have any money in it. At the same time, the woman we were working with said, I'll take care of the buyer. So she called somebody that she knew, who those 2 guys, they were brothers who built houses, and said, I've got these lots on the other end. They negotiated a price with us of $95 per lot, and they also wrote their contract contingent on the perk. And I remember the day that the perks passed, I went to her office, and I said, they passed, and she gave me a big hug. She sat down, she called the guy and said, your lot's passed. And they were like, great, let's get to closing. So again, I was broke. I used my partner's money to put up on the perk test, and they passed. So we bought and sold them the same day. This was back when you could still escrow your end buyer's funds. It's much harder to do that these days, but so he put up the money to do it. Didn't even know that his money was being used on my A to B, and then B to C for him. And I actually never met the builder. I just sat down and we signed all the documents with the seller, and used the builder's money to buy the bill closing. No money down deal. That netted us $101, $363.50, and about a 4-month time period from beginning to end. And all told, we probably had, 6 to 8 hours in it. There's a picture of me in my old Honda Civic standing in front of the lots, and there's the check. $101, $363.50. Okay. Yep. So since that time, what I did is I took a large chunk of that money. I was 60-40 with my partner in that. I took my money and I threw it into a rehab deal. I made over $60,000 on my first rehab deal. I kept just taking the money and reinvesting it, and grew my company that way. So here's some ugly toilets. Here's some beautiful toilets. Here's some pretty showers, and here's a hoarder house, and just a little smattering of the properties that we've done to date. So after 10 years of investing now, I've got a comfortable income, no longer living paycheck to paycheck, no consumer debt, debt's been paid off. Grueling commute from my bed all the way up to the other side of my house into my home office. Wonderful. Security in knowledge, not in a job. Okay, a lot of people think, well, I have a job, you know, I have the security from a job, but you really don't, you know. Here's the thing about it, when you run a business, you are looking at the numbers all the time. You know when the end's coming when you're running a business. Has anyone worked in a layoff atmosphere? No? Nobody's working a layoff. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Work in a layoff atmosphere, you can think everything's going great, even if you work for the government, everything's going great. One day, somebody comes to your office and says, I need to speak for you a minute. You know, you're out of here tomorrow, or even the same day. I work in that atmosphere. It is very stressful to not know what day, you know, the shoe's going to drop for you. Okay, at least when you run a business, you can see the end coming if that's going to happen. Make sense? So I've occasionally frequently, where, when, for as long as I want, forget asking people for days off and all that good stuff. Rely on myself. Life revolves around what I want to do. And Life and Air. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about Life and Air. I brought up my mentor, Steve Cook. He went from talking and teaching about flipping homes to this concept that he calls Life and Air. And in this country, it seems like we're very obsessed with money. We're very obsessed about what it means to become a millionaire. Everybody's trying to make $1 million bucks, right? I mean, that's why we're here. We want to make some money, right? Well, millionaire, I think we can take that and we can say millionaire means full of money. Is that fair? Okay. Life and Air means full of life. The idea behind Life and Air is to build your life first. Start to say, what is the vision of the life that I want to live? Without money as part of it. Now, once you got that stuff figured out, then you build a business around your life. So many people do this the other way around. They build their business first, and then any nooks and crannies that are left, they try to fit their life, their family, and loved ones, and everything into. Okay? Does that make sense? LifeandAir.com if you guys want to investigate more of that stuff. Sean Kosky and Steve Cook just finished the Life and Air book. It is actually a bestseller on Amazon right now. I highly recommend that you get a copy of the Life and Air book. It's like $16 on Amazon. So here's my family and I. We rented a 5,000 square foot in Tortola a couple years ago. We're going to St. Croix for a couple weeks this summer, renting a villa again. Here's me with some of my coaching students. This is the band tour that I was telling you guys about. This is in my office right here. These guys are sitting around my desk right here, and then I just love coaching. I love working with other people. I love helping people build up what I've been able to build up. I love sharing my knowledge, and I love being able to participate financially as well as emotionally in celebrating with my students. When my students sell a deal, I always take them out to a very nice dinner. Ask Dave Alonso and some of the others in the room. So let me give you guys some success tips before we get into becoming a mistake. So how to ensure your own success, okay? Success is not necessarily measured by money. I don't want to stand up here and tell you guys about Life and Air and all this stuff. Look, I like to make money. I like to make money a lot. It turns me on, it's fun, right? But success is not always about money. It's all about, you know, definiteness and purpose. Anybody ever listen to the name Brian Tracy? Brian Tracy stuff is great, you know, goal setting, stuff like that. He talks about you figure out what your purpose is and have a definiteness about that purpose, okay? You have to set your own bar, you know? It's going to be different for every person. Write it down. What you write down gets done. How many people have goals that they write down? Okay, everybody in this room should have a hand going up. Gotta write it down, folks. What gets written down gets done. Be legal and ethical. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of money to be made in this business, in the real estate business, doing things the right way. There's no reason to do stuff that's fraudulent, illegal, and stuff like that. But time and time again, I tell you what, folks, people think that they need to be evil in order to make money. That's just a bad money blueprint. Does anybody ever listen to T. Harv Eker? Talks about your personal money blueprint. You guys got to listen to T. Harv Eker and figure out what's going on in your mind and how you associate that with making money. Obviously, spending time with your family and friends, you know, that's why we're here. So, that brings us to Avoiding mistakes by modeling proven success. Mistake number one in the area of finance. Focusing on money instead of the opportunity. Right? How many folks of you are just getting started? How many here? Okay, great, good. Okay. How many of you would say that finding the money is the hardest part? Okay, hear you. Thank you for being honest and raising your hand. As long as you make money the hardest part, it's going to be very hard, and I would say almost impossible for you guys to find deals, okay? If you're just getting started, it's like literally lacking funds. There's nothing wrong with that. I was just getting started, but I was lacking funds as well. If you allow that money to be an obstacle for you, it will be, okay? Focusing on lack produces lack. We cool with that? Okay? So here's the deal. If you find a deal, if you find an opportunity, the money will follow. I cannot tell you how many times I've put a property under contract and obligated myself to buy that property 30 days later and have had no idea where the money's going to come from in order to buy that property. Now, if you're making offers on listed properties, it's a little bit different, right? Because you have to have a proof of funds and stuff like that. But you can go to cashformyclosing.com and get yourself a proof of funds. Okay? So you don't even have to have that all figured out. And that doesn't mean that that's whose funds you have to use when you close on the property, right? But it's much easier to work with private sellers, you know, when you're just getting started. And I prefer to work with private sellers just because I'm a good people person. I enjoy working with people. Okay? As everybody said this weekend, it's hyper competitive on the MLS, right? So find a good deal, money will follow. And my quick hot tip for finding the money once you get someone under contract, write down a list of everybody you know with money. Write down a list of all the banks that are community banks in your area. Okay? When you